Hi students, we're going to talk today about how different things reproduce. So we'll do a quick little review from our lessons from earlier this week. We're talking about asexual reproduction versus sexual reproduction. What all living things need to survive. So the description. So in asexual reproduction, one parent makes or splits into two identical offspring. It's an exact copy. This is done in bacteria, some worms, and yeast. Look at the picture here. I have a black circle representing like a bacteria. It will split in half to make the exact same copy of itself to reproduce. Now, in sexual reproduction, you need two parents and their gametes. Remember, gametes are sex cells like sperm or eggs to combine to make one unique offspring of one special child. This happens in plants, animals, which is humans, fungus, and yeast. Notice yeast does both of these things. And in the picture here, we have a black circle and a white circle that come together to make a unique and different offspring or child. So you see the differences here, but in the end, the goal is to make more of the same. Let's talk about how bacteria reproduces. So bacteria reproduction. Bacteria reproduce by what's called binary fission. In this process, the bacteria, which is one cell, divides into two identical daughter cells. This begins when the DNA of the bacteria divides into two. Each daughter cell is an identical clone of the parent cell. So we see the bacteria here. We see the DNA here is going to, step one, split into two. Step two, make an exact copy of itself. And then four, we have two new cells. Notice this is the exact same as this. Question one, according to the reading and diagram above, does bacteria reproduce asexually or sexually? Use a chart on page 1 to review asexual and sexual reproduction if you need to. So, question 1, does bacteria reproduce sexually or asexually? Well, according to what we just read, an exact copy with one parent, we know one parent is asexual reproduction. And part A, what are two reasons directly from the reading and the diagram to support your answer to question 1? So how do we know that bacteria does asexual reproduction well? For example, number one, we know that there's one parent, and we know it's an exact copy. So that's how we know that this reproduces asexually. It's one parent, and it's the exact copy. We see it in the reading and the pictures above. Human reproduction. Humans reproduce by first producing gametes, which are called sex cells. In humans, the female gamete is the egg cell, and the male gamete is the sperm cell. Both the sperm and the egg cells contain half the DNA from each parent, 23 chromosomes. Let's highlight that. So they first produce sex cells, egg and sperm. Highlight that. Oops, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Both contain half the DNA from each parent. The sperm and the egg join together in a process known as fertilization. Once the egg and sperm join together, the future baby has 46 chromosomes. So we see that we get half from mom, 23 chromosomes, half from dad, 23 chromosomes, to make a total of 46 chromosomes for the new child. And if we look at this picture here, we have the female and the male. They both go through a process called meiosis, where the female makes an egg, and this male makes a sperm, which has half the DNA. They combine through fertilization to make a unique baby, which has 46 chromosomes. So, question 2, according to the reading and diagram above, Do humans reproduce asexually or sexually? Well, since there's two parents involved, we know two parents is sexual reproduction. What are two reasons directly from the reading or the diagram to support your answer to question 2? All right, so if we look back here, we see that a sperm and an egg join together to make a new zygote. So we see you need a sperm, an egg to make a new one. But we also see that there's a new unique offspring or child as a result of it. So sexual reproduction, you need the sperm and egg, and there's a new unique offspring child. Now, the last section here is about plants. Now, do you think plants reproduce sexually, or do you think plants reproduce asexually? Let's find out. A little bit longer reading here, but we can get through this. Plants reproduce by first producing gametes, just as humans do. So gametes are sex cells. Interesting here. So they produce gametes, sex cells, just as humans do. But they're different than in living things. If you look at the picture to the right, you will see plants have female parts highlighted in pink and male parts highlighted in blue. So we see these are all the female parts right here in red. And then we have kind of the male parts over here in blue. So they have female parts and male parts just on one plant. In plants, the female gamete is the egg cells, which is called ovules in the picture. So let's find ovules right here. There's eggs in there. And the male gametes are pollen that are made in the male parts of the flower. So if we see here in the male parts, anther and filament, there's pollen here and the female parts down here. Both the pollen and egg cell contain half the DNA from each parent. Interesting. So the pollen, which is the male part, and the egg cells contain half the DNA from each parent, just like we saw in the humans. The sperm and egg join together in a process known as pollination, which is the second picture on the right. As you can see in the second picture, pollen is produced in one plant, part 1, and then moved to the female part of another plant by a pollinator, like a bee or butterfly, part 2. So if you see in this picture here, a bug will land on here, it'll kind of rub in the pollen and fly to another plant to spread that pollen into the eggs. Once the egg and sperm join together, the zygote, a future baby, has a full number of chromosomes. Eventually, the flower petals will die and fall off, and the ovary of the plant will grow into a fruit. This is how all fruits are made. So the fruit of the plant is like a new baby. So if you read like an apple or strawberries or grapes, whatever it may be, that's a plant that's been pollinated and it's trying to reproduce more seeds through fruit. Once the fruit is eaten or falls to the ground, the seeds can sprout, grow into a new plant. The new growing seed or plant is a genetically unique baby formed by the DNA of both parents. So we see those words again. The new growing seed or plant is a genetically unique baby formed the DNA in both parents. So we see the words unique. We have egg and pollen, and we have two unique male and female parts and unique sex cells. So question number 3, according to the reading diagram above, do plants reproduce asexually or sexually? Well, we know plants reproduce sexually. How do we know this? Well, number 1, we know that there are male and female gametes or sex cells. And we know that they have a unique offspring. All right, there you go.